Hi everyone, I am Carrie Little, Smart Girl Media Marketing, and yes, this is an impromptu update, and I wanted to talk to you about what happens when you don't take learning seriously, or when you don't apply what you've learned, or you don't have an opportunity to put things into practice. So here you go. So I have 11 tips or 11 things that happen when you don't take learning seriously. So thanks for joining me. Number one, if you don't take learning seriously, especially as a real estate agent. Now, some of you might be in the group because you're in our industry, and so you could be a stager, you might be a lender, but this applies to any entrepreneur. So when you don't take learning seriously, and I mean signing up for MLS classes, showing up to your brokerage to take classes, if you're a part-time agent, your full-time job could be getting in the way. If you don't show up when classes are offered, or you don't take online classes, this is what's happening. Number one, you are not confident when you work with buyers or sellers because you haven't taken learning seriously. Number two, you don't know how to explain data at all, or you have not even figured out how to explain data. Number three, you don't know how to troubleshoot. So when you don't take learning seriously, you don't know how to figure things out. The next generation, we call them the figure it out generation. Kindergartners, they don't take naps anymore. They actually, now they may still have recess because we do want them to burn off some of that energy. But the next generation, they're learning on this, where when I was in school, when I was in 8th grade, you got to use the Mac computer if you were a good student. So you need to be someone that is willing to figure out how to figure it out. So what else happens when you don't take learning seriously? Number four, you are afraid someone will ask you something you don't know. And there is nothing like, when I started teaching, someone asked me something I didn't know. And I remember I think on the north side of Chicago, and I got ripped to shreds. And I think I was teaching DocuSign. And after that, I didn't just take learning seriously, I became an expert in DocuSign. So this is what else happens when you don't take learning seriously. You don't think for yourself. Someone else thinks for you. Number six, if you call me. So let's say, for example, whether you work for me or not, I'll have agents that might call, or because I also train in other industries. Someone will call and ask me a question. Could be digital marketing, could be real estate. And let's say I'm working with a client, but I see that you called, or you said, hey Carrie, it's urgent, and I answer the phone. And you ask me a question where it requires an hour because you would have learned it had you come to class, or maybe even a one-on-one. So if you call me and ask me something and I can't explain all the details, I can only give you like the tip of the iceberg. It's like what you didn't know was below the waterline. So whatever I could, that was all I could give you. So because you didn't take learning seriously, when you call me because you think I'm the help desk, I can only give you the basics. And because of it, sometimes I might have to tell you what to do, and then there was no learning that took place. So what else happens when you don't take learning seriously? You can't grow. I've had people say, well, Carrie, how did you get to where you are? How did you open a brokerage? Now, there's a story about that, but I didn't get here overnight. I mean, literally, I did not get here overnight. Some people think that one day I started speaking. Back in 1995, I actually sat in the back of church on a Sunday, and there was a guy by the name of Bob Harrison, and he was speaking. And now, yes, I was counting his money. He was selling things, and I thought, I'm doing that one day. But this was 95. Now, do I think you can do things faster today? Absolutely. I've had people tell me, Carrie, how did you do it? Or I want to be like you. No, you don't want to be like me. You want to be like you, but you got to take learning seriously. What do you really want to do? And where do you want to go? Okay, what else? Number 9, you can't close. And what do I mean by that? When you take out a buyer, and I've heard the stories, oh my gosh, I've taken out this client to see 50 houses. Really? Really? That's your fault. You didn't set the expectation. And then when you get to the house, when you know this is the house they want, had you told them it's okay to write an offer on the first house they see, they may have purchased it. And number 10, what else happens? You are more likely to panic in a situation where you don't know the answer. And it's our job as real estate agents to keep the transaction together. One day on a Friday, and I was sitting outside of a store. I'm answering texts, and I get a phone call from an agent, and the agent says, Carrie, the attorney won't answer. Now it's 9 a.m. And I said, okay. She said, I've called twice, and the attorney won't call me back. My first question was, when you called that attorney, did you say, call me back? Because I'm going to tell you now, if you leave me a message and you say, call me back, I am not calling you back. No disrespect, but I am too scheduled to just call you back. So if you don't leave me a message, and if you aren't specific, be specific in everything you do, I'm not calling you back. Now, if you're my good friend, I'm calling you back. Some people, you can just hang up and I'll call back. But the truth is, if you really want something, you have to leave a message. My second question to this agent was, this is an attorney. It's 9 a.m. And I already knew where the attorney was. The attorney was already trying to put out 2 fires, and the attorney was at closing. So my next statement, knowing this, I hadn't told the agent yet. I said, my next statement was, does this attorney have an assistant? And the agent was like, yes. And I said, did you email the attorney? Because had you emailed the attorney, the paralegal probably could have solved this for you. Sometimes we think we have to solve everything. We panic and we just do what we want, and we think people are going to respond to us. But yeah, so you're more likely to panic when you don't know what to do. So we solve that. And number 11, I own you. Or let me say it like this. So when I had a job working at a small company, I was always afraid I would lose my job. And that was because I didn't know what I didn't know. When I started working at a company called McDonald's Corporation in the East Coast Real Estate Division, I worked there because I was going through transition in life. And I remember that I had a confrontation with another employee. And I was so confident that, I don't want to tell you the whole story, but I was confident that I already knew what I was doing, that I was okay if you fired me because I'd get another job. I just was confident, and I wasn't disrespectful, I wasn't rude, but they had done something that was very inappropriate. So, and here's my next, so I'll say, let me give you my next story, and then I'll recap. So, this is what happens when you don't take learning seriously. Not too long ago, I had an agent reach out to me. Here's the panic. And the seller could not find their listing online. Now, I remember I was in Washington, D.C., and this same thing happened to me. Went live on a Friday, and as soon as you go out of town, this happens. Went live on a Friday, and their listing didn't show up on Realtor.com, Trulia, or Zillow in your competition. So I said, okay, let me solve it. I called the help desk. I said, this is not syndicating, and that's what it means. And so they're like, let me figure it out. And then within 20 minutes, we had it solved. So my first question to the agent was, when she said that they couldn't find it online, I said, did you go look yourself? And she said, no, I never went and looked. And I thought, okay, you got to go look. So I looked, and it was there. So this real estate agent had not done what they were supposed to do the research. So you must always go and do the research. Could the agent have called the help desk to find out what's happening? But before you panic, take a second and actually solve the problem. So you got to troubleshoot. So here's the recap. Number 1, the reason why we don't take learning, this is what happens when you don't take learning seriously. You're not confident working with buyers and sellers. Number 2, you don't know how to explain data. Number 3, and so someone's going to ask you a data question and you're not going to know the answer because you didn't come to class. Number 3, you don't know how to troubleshoot. And I just talked to you about it. You got to become someone that is able to figure out how to figure it out. What do they say? GTS, Google that stuff. Number 4, you are afraid someone will ask you a question you don't know. Number 5, when you don't take learning seriously, you don't think for yourself. Number 6, if you call someone or me, I can only give you the basics because you didn't take learning seriously because I'm busy or scheduled or working on something else. And number 7, or I have to tell you what to do because I don't have time to explain it. So I have to tell you, this is what I need you to do, this, and this. Number 8, You can't grow. You can't grow from residential to commercial or working with investors or working or listing properties with HUD. You can't grow because you didn't take it seriously. I went and read everything on the HUD website and I got my own key. Number 9, you can't close. You don't know how to close the deal. And number 10, you are more likely to panic. And number 11, I own you. Because if you call me for everything, I own you. I always tell my kids, if you don't want me to tell you what to do for the rest of your life, do it without being told. So there you go. So thanks for joining me. If you ever have any questions, feel free to post them in the feed, send me a direct message, and this one away, follow me on my blog, smartgirlmedia.com. Have a great day.